So today I want to talk about. I always try to do something different than normal, where you can talk Scrum and Agile, and you can have a real boring conversation. I can tell you everything you want to know. There's probably 100 episodes on Daily Scrum out on my 800 plus episodes of my show. So we could really go in that if you really wanted to. But I wanted to do something different. Talk about building a $1 million Agile team. And this is from thoughts from Gary Vee, if you heard of him, Grant Cardone, Bob Proctor, Bryce Pritchett, um, Hila Hermosi, her and her husband, they built up $100 million business and sold it. So they want to make $1 billion business. But I like Levi. She's cool. She's really good, to be honest. If you want to learn anything about running a company, watch her videos. So this is a mix of what millionaires did to become rich and how you can apply that same thought process and be productive to get where you want to. Okay. So I'm just pulling stuff out of what they have talked about. If anybody knows Bob Proctor, he was one of the ones mentioned in The Secret. For that, and Bryce Pritchett was, we'll talk about his book too. All right. So one of the things I want to share with everyone, every Tuesday night now, I do a thing where I look at jobs in the Agile community, including business analysts, by the way, because I know I always come here to the IIBA, so I look at that. So every week I do a research on LinkedIn, say, is the market going up, going down, who's hiring, where are they hiring? Look at a couple of different places. I got listeners all around the world. So I got United States, European Union, and Greater Philadelphia, because we live here. And I always want to know what the market looks like here for myself too. So this is something from last night's show. It's 8 o'clock. It's recorded on YouTube. So if you ever want to go back and see, you can see what I broadcast. So business analyst, which is what we like here, just from the area. There's an Agile business analyst and business analyst. And there's all kinds of other jobs here. Since we are talking about IBA, just from a Scrum Master role. I'll be honest with you, I think for a person as a business analyst, my thought as a mentor would be get a Scrum Master cert. That way you can multiply your possibilities for being employed if you want to jump back and forth. It's very close, very similar. You have all the skill sets you need to be a Scrum Master. So it would help you out because you look at the difference here. Let's just look at United States in general. A business analyst, 46,000 job postings in the past month. Scrum Master, 60,000. So if you had both and you're looking for a job, you just doubled your possibility of getting that job. So I recommend that. Now, the other thing is the Agile business analyst. Some places look just for the Agile part versus just business analyst. Having that Scrum Master cert will help you get the Agile part. And one other thing in here, all the way down the bottom, a couple of things. Sometimes business analysts like to become product owner. I think I did do a session with you all, talk about different growth paths for BAs in the world. One is product owner, right? If you notice on here, and this is why I'm just kind of sharing this with you, product owner Agile and Agile product owner. Notice the difference in the number of job postings. Now, I don't know if it's a LinkedIn thing, how the algorithm works. I really don't care. Just put it to see difference. So if you were to put product owner, you might get less, or you get product owner Agile, get 17,000. If you do Agile product owner, just flip the words around, you only get 5,000 returns. So think about that. You're like, oh, where are my jobs? Play around with the words a little bit and see if you can up the number of opportunities that pop up on your screen. Okay. And I share this because we all come to these events, networking, looking at jobs, where the careers are. We have interpros here. So that's why I wanted to share that with you all. And then this is just a chart. One other thing here, this is just a chart for Philadelphia. Let's say you're a developer or BA or any other position. Look at the Agile position. So if you were to go in and say you were a developer and you were trying to help a developer find a job, it would be good to have some kind of Agile certificate or some kind of Agile background, because there are 19,000 positions out there asking for Agile. So it really grows that possibilities. So I always encourage, is why I do my show, is just help people find those jobs, right? And figure out where they want to go. It's all about opportunities and expanding. Now this is Philadelphia. The end, my we should be going good. So last month, they were all talking about when the jobs are going to start, and it really hit last week. It dropped a lot last 2 weeks, but then everything stabilized down. So it was really high come the August timeframe. But over the past 4 weeks, just in Philadelphia, it may look bad, but it's really not, because you're talking about tens of thousands of jobs that are still out there to be had. So, but that's one of the things I do look. I've been started tracking this, and we'll see. I got another 100 lines of code I can add. So I got 100 weeks of episodes. We'll see how it looks over the next year or so. Certifications. This is another one. Everyone talks about Scrum Master. Anybody notice, since we're in a live audience, I can talk this way. Anybody notice a number that's really, besides the PMP, okay? Your project manager, PMP, is still the grandfather of certification and LinkedIn. Okay, it just is. You got 273,000. What cert do you notice is the next one on the list? Kanban. Would you have thought Kanban? Probably not. Kanban's everywhere, because you can do Scrum, you can do Kanban, Scrum has a Kanban, their Scrum board is a Kanban board in essence. If you need to get a cert, and we're worried about where the future is going to be, and you don't have one yet, I'd get a Kanban cert. So if you were going to invest your money and get a cert right now, there's 11,000 jobs in the United States over the past, and Kanban's unique. Trust me, there's no other word Kanban in there. You might have another CSM, another PS, something like that. But Kanban's very unique. So there's that many jobs are looking for Kanban knowledge. So if you have developers that are running Kanban and you're a VA, it would be good for you to know Kanban, right? So I just want to share that with you. Okay, with that, getting into the presentation, because that's for this group here. Okay, what is not a habit of multi-millionaires? Okay, and anybody they can chat online if they want to throw something on the chat too. Feel free. I don't know if I can show the chat. No, doesn't show. Okay. Put it down here somewhere. Okay. So reflecting on goals daily. So the question is, this is not a habit of multimillionaires. Okay. So reflecting on goals daily, working individually, working with a mastermind. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Getting upset when things happen unplanned. So of these four, anybody want to hold up their fingers or put up on online in chat what they think is not a habit? You got some fours back here. You got 4, 2. You got some more fours, 2, 4, 2, a 4. I feel like I'm doing a bidding war here. We got a 2. It's number 2. They don't work individually. They hire people to work with them as a team. They perform 10 times as much stuff than them individually. And I'll be honest with you, I think sometimes some managers and Scrum Masters and team leads or whatever think they do more by individual versus, I'm like, you have 10 people. I want you to 10x yourself. And as an Agile coach, that's how I coach people and teams. I want 10 of you. I don't want you on 10, right? But we're going to talk about this, reflecting on goals daily. They do. That sound like daily Scrum. Working with a mastermind, we'll talk about that. And then getting upset when things happen unplanned. They know things are going to happen unplanned. They just don't get upset with it. When you really see really good leaders, they don't get emotionally upset. Okay, and they work at it hard. It doesn't come easy. I know I yell at my kids every once in a while. Okay. Agenda. So we're going to talk about reuse and maximizing value, goals, visualization, repetition, team, a mastermind what the team is, the blame game, review and failure with quantum leaps, setting people up for success, meetings, wasting time, and the bonus one we're talking about gratitude a little bit, which helps that emotional roller coaster. We'll get into that. And if anybody has any questions while we're here, feel free to ask. So anybody wants to chime online, if we get something in the chat, looks like we got Pablo wants to get admitted. Maybe you already got there. So anybody here, Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, he's really big in the social media world. He's like the masterclass person. There is I'm showing his how to make 64 pieces of content a day. He gave away his PowerPoint deck on how to do it. So it's free. You can go on, you can see how he does it. And why am I sharing this with BAs, business analysts, right? You're going to learn some stuff in that deck that you can apply for what you're crafting for your team to do that you should be thinking about. And this is going to change the way you think about what you're producing as a team, your story writing, where your team's going to go, reusing technology, how to use it. I would just go to the deck, just from a social media, just think about it a different way, because it'll expand your mindset. Or like when we do this one session here, I can record it, slice it up into 50 million pieces, and have content for next year out of this one session based on each slide. I can make a piece of content for each slide. That's how he thinks. And it's about reusing the maximum value. Okay. So you're spending a little bit of time, but I can get hundreds of hours worth of content out of here. It's the same thing he says. And he's all about making small content, experimenting with the customer. Sound familiar with what a BA should be doing, and not assuming what the customer wants. So he's very big on making little pieces, throwing out there, finding out what the audience wants, what the customer wants, and working your way through. Rather than make some giant, high invested effort, he's talking about small pieces, get the feedback, figure out what they're going, and then go that way. That's that rapid feedback loop. Sounds like something in Agile and Scrum, right? Rapid feedback loop. So that's what he's talking about. Any question on Gary Vee? Definitely watch his videos. Goals. So Bob Proctor, he wrote a book, You Were Born Rich. It was also in The Secret. And in there, he talks about a couple different things. I'm just taking some highlights from his book. And how the guys work. Like from the 2020 Scrum guide, goals are now more front and center. Product goals, sprint goals. So they realized that they needed to say goals are important for an Agile team. Bob Proctor's all about goals. Trust me, every day. He is all about reviewing a vision and goals, doing a vision statement, writing your goals every day, knowing what you want to do, make sure you reflect on them every day. Same thing that goes with the daily Scrum. First thing in the morning. Sound familiar? And then you take actions on what your goals are, plan those for the day. Very big on that. From the Agile Manifesto, responding to change or following a plan. Here's a quote from Bob Proctor. The goal remains, but how we get there changes. Sound familiar? Sounds just like right out of the manifesto. And what he says is how you become a millionaire. Okay? And that thing that Bob says, they all say it. I'm just giving an example. One person's he went from maid services to multi-international company. Any questions about any of those goals or setting? Visualization. This is something else Bob Proctor talks about. Visualizing your goal in your brain. Drawing vision maps, goals with pictures. Not just words, but also pictures. This is where we as BAs, product owners, people who write requirements, don't put enough pictures to give a description of what we want. We write the words, but my advice is like snap it. But also when you plan, you do sprint planning, quarterly planning, draw out what your vision. And in this picture in the background, just some things, like there's a blueprint on the right-hand side as part of my vision board. I have a vision board that I draw. It's actually on a manila envelope, like a file folder that I can open up and look at anytime, fold it back up, put it on a shelf, fold it up. One of my goals was coffee shop, and I am starting a coffee business. So you visualize it enough times, and you just things come by, and you meet people, and people like my neighbor had a business. He's like, "Hey, Greg, let's like cool." So basically, that goal is coming. But the more you visualize it and work on it every day, same thing in the sprint, same thing in Agile. The more you visualize it and talk about your goals, the more it will come true. And you'll be more aware of anything that impacts. Repetition. They all talk about repetition. Every one of them talk about repetition. Agile manifesto principles. At regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective and tunes and adjusts its behavior. Right? That's the Agile manifesto. We do it every iteration. Scrum guide. Shorter sprints can be employed to generate more learning cycles. I always coach teams to say the more sprints you do, the more you'll get better. The longer your sprints, the longer iteration, the longer it takes you to get better. Bob Proctor, repetition programs are the subconscious. So when you do repetition, you take your goal, you read it every day, it actually gets into your subconscious. It's the only way to reprogram your subconscious to your goal. So this you can take up for yourself, for work, whatever. But the repetition, saying your goals every day, and some other things we'll as we go through this thing, will help your subconscious just naturally be aware of stuff that you're not. Gary Vee. The question is why companies are not putting 100 pieces of social media content out a day, right? So it's repetition. He's saying do 100 a day. One a day is not enough in this world. He is right, because the algorithm, you never know who's going to be online and who does what. The better the cadence, the less document. Now this is me. The better the cadence, the less documentation and sprint interruptions. So the more you're on a regular pace, everyone will know what your pace is and when to ask questions. When you deviate off your pace, change your meetings around, make sprints longer, don't do your sprint reviews, whatever, they will start pinging you for stuff to get done. And the more you have to document your stuff. So if it's on a regular cadence, every Monday or every 2 weeks, then it works much better. Any thoughts on that? Anybody have problems with cadence? You do?
Always moving things around.
Oh yeah, we can talk about that. I'll get you on that one. I am coaching one person about moving meetings around. Like, we all say it's okay now. I said, you just want to come up with one time on a regular time, have that meeting, so they all know. Like if you're a bunch of developers, you don't want to change the developer's mindset every couple of hours because you're moving a meeting around. That'll piss them off. Oh, I quit. You want it. Hey, I know at 8, or I know at 1, or I know at 3, you meet every day at this time. It makes it a lot easier. And also think about all your people who are on the other side who moved meetings around to attend your meeting. It's not just you, it's all those people that just, oh, I can't meet. I'll meet you tomorrow. Oh no, we moved it. Now you're playing this with musical chairs and that one. Some people are try to don't understand how the other person not just how you feel. Okay, so this is a concept that's in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This is from like 1920s that he first published his book. The concept of mastermind, and the concept of mastermind is pretty much everywhere. If you listen to some of these tapes, you listen to some of these, they talk about the masterminds they belong to. And this is what they're talking about, where the mastermind is a coordination of knowledge and effort in the spirit of harmony between 2 or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. So this is where people in a group have a sole purpose and they work together to achieve, much like a team, much like a Scrum team should be. They should be working together for that purpose, not 7 Like if you have 10 people, it shouldn't be 10 different things they're trying to accomplish, but for one purpose in the mastermind. They share problems and helping others with the problems with their assembled experiences, talents, and knowledge. So really, when you have a Scrum team and it's really working right, everyone's helping each other out. And you're learning, you might come up with the problem solving, right? But there might be 2 other people in the room and solve something different, give you another perspective, right? And then the team norms, which I love these. I think this should be in every team norm that's in the mastermind, what they read every day. If you belong to Toastmasters or any kind of group, they read sometimes what their rules are. And I love this one. And if you can add this one to your team norms, you will achieve a lot. And it's to forgive. I forgive myself for mistakes I've made. I also forgive others who have hurt me in the past so I can move into the future with a clean slate. How many times you're on a team, somebody does something to you, you get all upset, I'm not going to work with you anymore, and then vice versa. If you can put that in your team norms so they learn to forgive each other, because it happens. I broke your code. Sorry, we're all here this weekend because I got to help code that thing. Because it'll make you work better in the future. So this is one thing from the mastermind idea, that if you could incorporate that into your team norms in an agile environment, they will go much further. And in personal life, if you can forgive everyone, you'll go further. Like dwelling on what happened 10 years ago. It's a better way of living. Okay, Grant Cardone. You ever hear Grant Cardone? He's all over the social media. He's like a billionaire right now, got real estate everywhere. He's trying to get everyone to buy his real estate, get into the real estate business, does all free seminars. It's good listen. It's a book called The 10X Rule. Even people that aren't in real estate love this book. I was watching one guy, he was somewhere out in Washington State doing a video. He says, "What's your favorite book?" 10X by Grant Cardone. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. I had to buy the book because I was kind of curious. So he has a $5.2 billion annual company. He was on Undercover Billionaire. So he basically earned $1 million for being dirt poor and showed how he can, in this show, make $1 million during the show. From nothing to $1 million and translate it. In his 10X, he says, don't blame others for lack of success. It's no one else's fault but yourself. Okay, that's one of his rules. Don't blame others. And then here's my favorite. Assume it'll take 100 times more work or effort to get what you want. And this is my classic. So for myself, so many teams I coach overcommit. They underestimate how much effort it's really going to take to do the job. And one of the things I coach most teams on, and even when I build metrics for companies to see how they're doing and progressing, the closer they get to commitment to what they get done, the better. And that also helps with the customer, because if you overcommit and don't deliver, they're not going to trust you. Therefore, they're going to call you and pester your developers and your team all throughout the week to try to get something done, because they don't believe you're going to deliver when you do anything else. And about just call and pester you. So that's just a tip about not overcommitting, but assuming it's going to take more effort than you think. Don't do the happy path. Manifest principles, self-organizing team. Scrum guide, team is responsible for all product-related activity. So when he says don't blame others, as a Scrum team, you're responsible for what you do. And that's what the Scrum guide says. You're responsible for it. It's not the deployer somewhere else. It's not another team. You should be looking at all the areas that could make everything fail and understand that. Okay, U Squared. It's a nice little book. I wish I had the book with me. It's only like, I don't know, a centimeter, not even a centimeter thick, by Price Pritchard. And this is about reviews and failure, quantum leaps. Seek out failure. It helps one find the boundaries. So when you fail, you know how far you can go, but you don't know how far you go until you fail, right? Make the move before you're ready. Don't say, well, I'll be ready, just go do it. You'll find out what you can and not can't do. Finding solutions that are not known as of yet. The only way you get out there, you'll find those solutions because you don't know what they are. Once you start coding, everyone thinks they figure out how much work, you don't really know. And here's the point for Scrum and Agile. Scrum sprint reviews are supposed to create leaps, not just what's done. This is what people aren't getting. When you do these reviews in Scrum, the idea is the product's in front and go, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, can I do that? And next thing you know, you got 10 people wanting what you just created. And that goes back to Gary Vee. When you demo to multiple customers and a bigger audience, they had no idea that that capability was there until you showed them. Now they may want it. So now you get 10 customers. Now you're employed for a much longer period of time. You're bringing more value to your company. Examples, containerization. We didn't have containerization 7 years ago, never really exists. Now people are still figuring out what to do with that. Automation testing was once manual. Yeah.
Craig, what is containerization?
So containerization, when you make a virtual version of your computer, your server, and you put all the software there, all installed, all the applications, everything, it's in a virtual box. So now you can take this data-driven virtual box and put it anywhere you want. So if you have a place where you mess around with the code, you make a virtual version of it, and once it's good, you can usually change a couple things. You can move the data to another server. You can change the IP addresses and just route to the new one. And there's other ways you can do that too. So it's just a way of how many times developers say, well, I don't know what the settings are on the server. Well, in the container, you control the settings. So the settings go with it, everything goes with it. And then the automated testing code forever with a little work. Once you write an automated test, you can run it forever. Done. You know, you don't have to manually do it anymore. Every time you write a little piece of code, it gets tested. Okay. So those are quantum leaps where you used to have to hire. I watch companies hire all these people. I'm like, oh God. Please just like automate the good stuff, and then as you code something and you do a manual test, automate that test right away. Right? Leila Hormozi. So she is the COO for their company with her and her husband. They together built a $100 million business, and they're in their 20s. Okay, so. It's amazing. Listen, these 20 and 30-year-olds, I guess they're now 30, but they were in their 20s when they built this, and how they built that this activity. And she's really good about setting up people for success, recruiting people. By the way, you should all be. They can all listen to her videos because they're awesome. She talks about lots of feedback loops, trust and honesty, structure and expectations up front. Immense in the culture, and assign a buddy for the team. And those are all things that when she says setting up, these are the keys to helping your team and the people you recruit or hire to be successful. And when you bring them on your team, the idea is that there are new people on your team that do this stuff with your new teammate. Just let them hang high and dry all by themselves. You know, why good employees quit, 5 mistakes to avoid. She has a little video. I put a link on here to a video. If you want to find out why good employees quit, she talks about it there. And she says, primary reason is poor onboarding. So when you brought them on board, the initial phases just didn't work. In her thing, she says, if you fire someone within a year, in her mindset, it usually costs 100% to 300% of their annual salary. So why do you want to spend all that extra money? Then you can't hire anybody because you just spent 3 times on what you had for the one. My recommendation, this is my tip, build into your backlog onboarding of new team members. So put a story into the sprint. When you've got someone coming on board, Put a story in there where everyone meets it. Put them subtasks in the story. Everyone has to meet the new person. Someone's going to teach. I usually do product owner teaches product. BAs teaches about the product. Scrum Master talks about Agile and how the team operates. Some of the tech people talk about the technical thing, and then partner them up. Sign a buddy. So when you go into the next sprint, they should have a partner working on a story they're going to work on, so they can work together and learn to work to each other. Do not let them hang by themselves, because they're going to. It's not going to be productive for the team, nor the person. So, and again, the very first value in the manifesto: individuals and interactions over process and tools. It's not about watch million videos when they come on board. It's about having them interact with other people in the team, so they feel a part of the team. And Leela talks about this a lot, and she's like, "There's all you should if you're in charge of a company, definitely watch her videos." Yes.
Okay, what business did you say?
They have a new business called acquisition.com where they're just teaching everybody how to make millions of dollars. But they had a bodybuilding health center businesses that they grew it to $100 million in revenue.
What was it called? What's the name of that?
Yeah, they talk about it, but they sold it all. And they went down to nothing. And everyone's like, "How'd you sell your company?" They love the challenge of building businesses. That's that goal. So they're like, "Oh, we're gonna do it again," but they want to build $1 billion business. So their goal is this acquisition.com is $1 billion business, not $100 billion business, but $1 billion business. So it takes a different mindset to get there. So that's what they're doing there. But if you look up her, like I said, there's a link in here. Send that out to everyone, but definitely look up her stuff. He has his stuff too, but it's more mental stuff. She's very operational. She's like, "Here's how you run the company. Here's how you hire people. Here's how you take care of them." And it's great. So here's Gary Vee. Talks about meetings, wasting time. Gary Vee, everyone. He says he hates meetings, and I kind of agree. His are short and to the point. I know we all like to have meetings, but in reality, do we really need to have those long meetings? Meeting goals are critical. They should be for decisions. Quote from his video that's in this video, how to use your time efficiently as possible. And I love these quotes. "I'm able to move something or cut something down. I'm extremely thoughtful about cutting times in meetings." He just actively goes this. "And understanding a 7-minute meeting is real. This is why we do error." He says, and not just me. So this is where we do daily scrums. We don't want an hour-long daily scrum because they extend it. We don't want these ginormous refinement sessions. BAs are in charge a lot of times of refinement sessions. It's just nothing. You want to be to the point, get it done, and get out. Let people go. And that's the key. So if you're really no real reason to be more than 15 minutes in daily scrum. If your company has that, call me if you want. We'll talk about it. But really, he does a multi-$100 million company, $1 billion company, and his meetings are 7 minutes long. So the CEO of the company says my meetings are 7 minutes long, and you have a 15-minute meeting. Who's right? Just ask him. And he's making decisions with thousands of people and companies, Coca-Cola, the big time marketing business. Tips. Something that look at your calendar. Here's something for me. My personal opinion. Reoccurring meetings are the death knell for decisions. If you have to make a decision and you go, "Hey, let's make a reoccurring meeting for the next 6 months." How long do you think that decision is going to take? If you want a decision, do not make a reoccurring meeting. Go with what the goal of the meeting is and what you're going to come out and get it done. If you need another meeting, but if you're meeting because people can't make it, they don't care. I'll be honest with you, cut them out. Okay? So if you have reoccurring meetings, don't. Unless they're there for a particular purpose and a particular item. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. Yeah.
So Greg, I have a question for you. So there's a situation at work where it's a very important decision, politically charged. It deals with silos in different departments. And the death of the decision is the fact that everyone's got to go and like present this individually to the higher level management to get them all on board so they all know what's going on. What a waste of 2 months of time.
Yeah.
You know, how, when you're in a culture like that, which I'm in a big company, how do you, like, what's your advice? I mean, it's out of my control, but it's also driving all of us crazy.
Well, a lot of the real good companies will hire a coach, to come in and talk about that, and help facilitate.
And
things.
does he have the initials GM?
Yeah, sure. Sometimes I just like to talk to them, find out what's going on and just chat, because I learn so much from what they do, and I take that back. But I do non-disclosure, so I don't share.
It's just also no one's surprised, right? But there's so much effort in making sure no one's surprised.
Some people think, and here's the agile coach, here's the coach side.
Yeah.
Some people think it makes them seem more valuable by having their day full of meetings. Okay, the honest truth, they just feel they need it. I want to fill up my calendar meetings. I've been with CIOs and a couple of that within a day or two you can have everything finished. I mean, we fixed grandiose things in 2 days and laid out a plan. This is what we want to do. Go for it. This is our goal. This is our objective. Right. The other thing you might get that may have a problem is people think they have to micromanage because they learn that coming up the chain. They have to know everything you do. When you're in the agile mindset, no, you don't. As a Scrum Master, I see Scrum Masters who think they need to know, and project managers and BAs think they have to know everything about everything. I mean, no, that's not your job. Your job is vision, not what the day-to-day activity is, right? But really, it's this exposing them sometimes to what, that's why I say reoccurring meetings are the death knell. I like just let people know. They may do it, may think about it, take it back, and ponder on it when they do it. But usually hire a facilitator, because a facilitator, a real facilitator, won't let that happen. They'll organize it, do it, and help get to a conclusion. And another side note I wrote here: don't overthink story points. Right? It's a 30-second decision. It's not a 10-minute discussion. So if you do it right, that kind of process should just happen within a minute or so when you're figuring all that stuff out. So don't waste people's time by having this big grandiose discussion. It's either we have enough information that we can do the job and test it, or we don't have enough information. And if you do have enough information, you ask a couple questions about understanding, is this what it is, then you point right away. So many people go into how are we going to solve this problem? That's not the discussion. It's a question whether or not the business analyst and the product owner provided a story that has enough information to do the job. And then one last bonus thing, gratitude. There's a book out there called The Magic. It's the same person that did The Secret. They call it The Magic. And it's about gratitude. It's really a neat book. If you ever really wanted to do it, try it. I did it. It has 28 chapters, so it's 28 days of different ways to be grateful for what you have. And this is all about getting into a good, positive attitude. So when things go wrong, you don't yell at everyone, and you can make it through. And by this practice, it helps you get better at that, where you're like, I was listening to somebody the other day that talked about they get themselves such in a good mood at the beginning of the day versus a bad mood because they're doing these grateful exercises, that when the bad news comes, they don't react. It's less of a reaction. But if you're at level or below when you start the day, it's just gonna go worse. So, one of my favorite ones, and and here's one of the things, every team should celebrate and take time to appreciate what they did, accomplish, and not just plow into the next time. I always try to get my teams, okay, take a break, relax, enjoy it, do something fun at the end of the sprint, and just enjoy that you completed something. Just don't go right into the next sprint. You burn your teams out, and then they're gonna be looking for new jobs. We'll call interpros. Can you give me a new job? But this book, I put it in there. Called The Magic. It's really good. There's one thing I like about it. I still do it. I'll just share this. One, you go find a rock. I understand why she's saying it's something that has mass to it. And every night before you go to bed, you think about all the good things that happened during the day. And then you take one of those good things and say you're thankful for it 3 times. And you do that every night before you go to bed. So when you go to sleep, you're in a thankful mood and not pissed off mood. And that helps you next day. I like it. It's simple. It doesn't take any effort. You just have a little heavy rock, or you can do a paperweight, I don't know. And just have it next to your bed when you go to sleep. Think about all the good things that happened that day as you're holding the rock, and then think about the one good thing you really appreciated. And it's a physical thing as well as a mental, and that's why they do it. So it's a neat book. You can make it through all 28 every day. You'll be like, wow, okay, this is different.
Hey, Greg.
Yes.
Do you do that? You do that?
Which one, the rock?
Yeah. Well, do you do 28?
Yeah, I did all 28. Yeah. I do a lot of them daily. Like I do, yes, every day I write down 10 things I'm grateful for. And I actually purposely put my wife and kids and name them and say, what was I grateful for the day before they did? So I think about that. Anyway, I could give you a funny story. My dog Jerry, who's on the show every once in a while, mostly Bubbles. I was grateful for him for having me go for a walk or something in the morning. And then later on, I found out he peed on the second floor. I said, I can't be mad at you because I'm already grateful for having you to help me get in shape. So that's just an example. It's like, let me do stairs. He made me do stairs, right? So, but yeah, I did all 28. It's a great little book. It's an easy book to read. It's not very complicated. Every chapter is another day. And they explain, give an example, tell you what to do, and then they give you the homework assignment. So I would recommend it. Now, if you talk your spouse into doing it, they look at you like you're insane. But these are some of the books from very rich people that have been helping other people become rich, that if you read this, I like looking at from an agile coach perspective, the diversity of knowledge and things that you can bring into the table as a leader or anything. So there's some reference materials. And then if you want to get a hold of me, I have my 5 a.m. Mester Scrum show. You can look in LinkedIn if you look up Greg Mester. I'm the only agile cheerleader up there. I think anybody else no one wants to admit to it. I like to get everyone happy. And we had some teams where people would say, they got stuff done. I go, so how do you feel? I'm really good. Like, there you go. When you're happy and you're excited, you're gonna get so much more work done than you are for me on that. So you can check out 5 a.m. Mester Scrum Show. I got a podcast. I'm in Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. So anywhere you want, there's all kinds of stuff out there. Any questions?
So in the beginning, you were talking about Kanban, right? Mm-hmm. So years ago, it was more like peer-to-peer process transfer.
Okay.
Do you have a colleague or a company you can recommend? Because the certs were all like unique to the training companies, but is there one that like you could stand by and say this is the one, like the CSM?
If you just want basic Kanban, then it doesn't really matter. Where it really changes when they do the advanced one. A friend of mine, she just became certified for Pro Kanban, I think it was. But if you want to reach out, I'll give you her name.
Okay.
She took my coaching, and we're getting our coaching expert certification from IC Agile, which I didn't do, but she got it. I had to do some other things to get it done. But she's really good.
Okay.
I would trust her. Though I did hear someone say something to me about all these ceremonies, like, what? Where are you getting that from? Oh, it's from the, like, oh, God. So they're trying to make Kanban into this safe thing. I mean, in my opinion, but with multiple layers. Any other question? But definitely, if you can get Kanban, even if you take the basic, just so you can do it. There's a game out there, the Kanban game, which I love. We used to do that. I don't know if we did it with this. We had an Agile Village. We did the Kanban game. I think times that could look good. But anything else?
I'll go back to the gratitude piece, because
Yeah.
I tried that before.
Did you try that book?
No, I've never read that book, but I read Miracle Morning.
Yeah.
I've never read that or
I've
know
heard
about
that,
that,
yeah.
and that's a piece of that too. I've always found that, like, when I'm stressed or I'm in a bad mood because of something, that it's easy to say, well, I'm not grateful right now, so I'm not going to do that. Do you find yourself in that position sometimes, and does that solve that issue or that mood or that mindset? How do you grab a
So,
rock?
And this is where the repetition in your subconscious comes in, and people are like, oh my God, what's this no-mo, Jomo? But I would say, by doing it for a month, or getting the habit where you're doing every day, when that feeling does come, your subconscious kicks in and says, what are you doing?
Okay.
So this is where the repetition and doing that every day, when that does come, it goes, wait, don't react, think about it. Why are you grateful? Like, there's a lot of people out there. Why are you grateful for this problem showing up? It's here for a reason. Why is it here? You should be grateful for the problem that you're about to solve.
So you find that impacting your day when you're not just professing your gratitude. You
Yes.
find it, wow, that's awesome.
But the more you do it every day, the more it reminds you when you do react, oh man, I didn't do it. I didn't do my gratitudes in the morning, or I didn't do something. And you're like, I gotta make sure I do it, because I can tell when I'm not at that upper level starting the day, first down to the lower level. Again, you're beginning the day. 10 things you're grateful for, you're in a positive mood. So when that stuff does come, you're already put money in the bank. So when you got to take it out, you have enough money in the bank already.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't have any money in the bank and you take it out, you're just gonna get upset.
That's awesome.
So yeah. So try the book. It's easy book.
Yeah.
And if you can make all 28, it's pretty impressive. Stuff comes up.
I would challenge the concept that we have to be grateful for every crappy situation there is. I mean, to time box and say, right now, I'm in a car accident. I don't see anything grateful about that. I'm going to give myself this much time to feel really crappy about this, and then I'm going to move on. Right?
Yeah, no, that happens. One guy, I forgot who it was, they actually talk about give yourself a day to be upset.
Yeah.
But then you forget about it.
Yeah.
But that's
So
the key.
I think
Forget
there are
it.
sometimes you have
forget
to
it.
let yourself.
You only get 1 day of emotion.
Yeah.
That's the tough part. People want to reflect on, oh my God, it's so bad. That's done. Move on. Figure out where you're going to learn from that event. Yeah, you can't do it when you're in the middle of a car accident. Or somebody.
You're alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You be thankful you're alive afterwards, and that somebody was there to help you get out of that car. So, anybody else?
I just want to say Joe has the best question. Well, I think it's also about resilience, right? It's about the ability to have something bad happen and then pick yourself up and move on. Keep moving forward. But you're right, like in certain situations, you're like, you can't be in that mental state. But if you have that resilience and you've built up that practice, then it'll be easier for you to
Agreed.
bounce back.
Fully agree.
Yeah,
But
And
don't
also-
ignore the negative emotion
Right.
and try to move past it too soon. I mean, there are valid reasons to have a bad hour, a bad day.
It's like Serenity now in Seinfeld, right? Eventually build up.
There's a certain guy that some people on social media don't like, but he's a psychiatrist, he talks about it. Don't try to fix it when the bad thing happens. So many people will send psychiatrists and like, there was like, oh, God forbid, a gunshot. Oh, let's fix them mentally there. No, don't do it then. Wait a little bit, then help them out. But don't try to solve that mental problem right then and there when they have a car accident or something really dramatic happens. That's not when you want to start going, oh, what's your problem? You know, what's reflected? No, please don't do that. Oh. So, but the other best thing about this, it's not just about you, it's how you react to others afterwards. So that's really the game. That's where the leaders are. Yes, I just had a terrible day, but I'm not going to have that reflect on how I treat somebody else in the office. Like if you're going to Starbucks and get a coffee, say thank you. You know how many people don't say thank you? Just take it right away. But purposely, and actually it's one of the things in 28. When you go see somebody, say thank you and thank them for their service. When you do get it, like a Starbucks coffee, I love this one. Yeah, think about all the people that worked everything from coffee growers in South America all the way through the chain, and be thankful for everyone through that chain who gave you that coffee. And you thank your employer for hiring you to have money to buy that very expensive Starbucks coffee, you know? So it's a whole thing, all the people that contribute that. And that's like one of the things, one of the practices of the day, just piece of fruit, something you're eating for dinner, reflect on it, something. It just gets you in that positive mood so that it's gonna happen, stuff will break. It always happens. If it doesn't happen, then you're done. If it doesn't break, you're not pushing the envelope, which we talked about earlier, to see how far the boundaries are. Anything else? He's laughing.
I get in trouble for saying the same things to people, like. You just have to be careful how you frame it. If someone were to say, you got an accident, so what, move on. Right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
There's ways to do it, ways not to do it. But it takes a lot of practice. These millionaires do this every day. And you'll hear it. If you listen to enough of them, they go, yeah, I practice my gratitudes. Every one of them. Everyone. There's not one of those millionaires, billionaires who don't do that practice every day. They'll leak it out every once in a while and watch it. But what are you talking about? And that's what they're talking
So I got another one for you, Greg. So the whole topic was about teams, building teams, forming teams, improving your team. How do you socialize this in your team without making everyone feel like it's their homework, like during work and outside of work? And I say that because I'm a person that is gonna go read these books. I'm gonna go read the tweets. I'm gonna go like just absorb it all. I'm not gonna stop.
Right.
But I know a lot of people aren't like that, and they look at like the doing the gratitude, doing the steps, doing the time to appreciate work that failed. Those are like real big hurdles because they're extra work for them. So what would you recommend?
So there's not one thing that every one of those slides I could do individually in a sprint.
Right.
So it's not all at once. You can read something in one of that book, like the Magic, take one exercise you think your team would really do. And hey, I'd love to do this exercise. Does anybody go game for doing this exercise or doing this? And there's stuff you can do that are real simple. Even the idea of doing the reviews and the repetition. I'm just training them to get that way, right? Looking at the goals every day. You in a group, you can speak up. What's our sprint goal again? How come we don't have a sprint goal? Next retrospective. Hey, I would like to add a sprint goal to, and if you don't do it, this is Grant Cardone speaking. Don't blame others for you not having a sprint goal. Right? Why is it everybody else's job, not yours? That's one of the things I liked about it. It's like, just dumb it down. Because if you want to be a millionaire, you can't blame someone else for not being a millionaire. Right? So there's all little pieces in there that you can slide in there, talk about, bring up with your teammates. Like that one for team norms about trust. Hey, can we visit team norms? We haven't done it in like 6 months. I saw this, I read this in a group I'm in. I would love to have a conversation about this item in our team norms and see if anybody's game for adding. That's easy.
Have you encountered situations where the team isn't receptive to some of these ideas?
Oh yeah, all the time. Well, you have to work your way and figure out how to do it. As a Scrum Master, I had a lot more influence on and getting this stuff done. As an Agile coach, I'm working with Scrum Masters, leaders to understand these concepts. And like you said about communications up and down and longer, it takes a little bit longer because I got to get them to understand as an individual a little bit and but get them to try things. I'm trying to get them to learn it's okay when I coach people. Sometimes they can't fail. Like, what are they gonna do? You're not gonna fire tomorrow because they can't hire anybody, right? You try and hire somebody, but it takes them forever to replace you. And they really got, so when you leave, it takes 4 months for them to find a new person to come on board. Well, sometimes instantaneous. Because Interpros does all their background and reviews them and make sure they're good. Give them plugs. Anybody else? Any other questions? Any questions online? We only got one chat, so. If anybody online wants anything.
If anyone online has questions, feel free to unmute and ask your question.
While we're waiting, did you enjoy this conversation? So it's not the typical Scrum Agile conversation. Make you think outside the box, some way different. My job's done. Outside of your norms, right? My job as an Agile coach, I get you to think outside of what you normally do. All right, I guess we're good.
I don't see anything.
Do you think that consciously helping the team be happy, help them to work together? Is that?
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah. Hey Pablo, I know Pablo. I think we took one of our classes together. Yeah, just having happy people will produce more work. It just, I don't know if this is a number, but you can't increase your work output by 10% without hiring another person. So you got 10 people. If you're a happy team, I personally would say you probably can get a 10% bump up and not have to hire that 11th person. It's going to cost you $100. And if you have a contractor, probably $250,000, depending on where they are.
so that's
Some people say that adding people makes it worse.
Oh God. I actually split my teams. When they get to a point, I go, let's split them. What? Okay, not that hard. I did a whole show on how to do that. Anything else? Oh,
If you split your team, what's your perfect size team? Like where do you start to think you need to split? When it
once you
gets-
start breaking 10, 12, because 10, you can have 2 sets of 5. And let's say you have developers and testers, something like, big corporate, we have testers, we have developers, neither shall be the same. So if you have 5, you can have a couple, like 2 testers and 3 developers. You put a BA in there, whatever your mix is at 5, right? So it's a good mix, a good pace. I will say when I did that, my teams, I had one person who says, he was messing me back one day. Greg, you never knew how good you had it until you went someplace else. And we were damn quick at what they did because they knew exactly who were on their team. They were so small. Each team actually had 2 developers and 1 tester. They were so fast on the response reaction time. When a tester found a bug, the developer, they knew exactly who to give it to. There was no, who should take this? They were right